Now, my exclusive interview with New York City Mayor Eric Adams. We sat down today at City Hall. He is the first big city mayor to sit down with the incoming border czar, against really the wishes of his own city leaders, saying he will work with the Trump White House to deport migrant criminals from his city, and his message to fellow Democrats to wake up after their sweeping 2024 election losses. We had a big election, obviously, in November of 2024. There are a lot of prominent Democrats who are speaking out of what they're referring to as a real wake-up call for your party. Let's watch some of these voices, and then I want to get your reaction, Mayor.
Donald Trump is not an idiot. You know how I know? Because he has the White House, the Senate, the House.
Totally agree.
Court, the popular vote.
Democrats, you lost. You got your butts whipped. Own it, live with it, accept it.
I don't even know what the Democratic Party is at this particular moment. They don't seem to have a real sense of direction at this point.
So Trump won by 11 points in the Bronx and in Queens. He cut in half Biden's lead in New York. What do you say to what these individuals are saying? Do you agree with them?
Wholeheartedly. That we stopped speaking to people, we started speaking at people. I think I like to say it's a cryptocurrency moment. You know, when I first started, said I was going to invest in cryptocurrency, people laughed at me. Who's laughing now? And when I first got elected in 2022, I told the party it's public safety. People are tired of the revolving door where people are constantly committing violent crimes and back on our streets. We ignored it. I talked about the affordability issue. I talked about the migrants and asylum seeker issue. I mean, Iowa caucus showed that is one of the top issues. Not hearing the people and you engaging in dialogue while individuals are fearful of affordability, losing their home, the future of their children, and you having these intellectual conversations, and people are like saying, what the hell are you talking about? I'm hurting, and you're asking, is Donald Trump Hitler or not? It's just not talking to the real needs of people.
So you have been strong on those issues. I look back at the things that you were saying over the years. Obviously, you spent decades as a New York City police officer, but when you came into office, you were asked on ABC if you were concerned that being a sanctuary city was going to create a magnet to New York. And here's what you said.
Not at all. This city has always been a sanctuary city, and we've always managed those who wanted to come to New York City to pursue the American dream.
But now, you know, people see Tren de Aragua in Times Square. They see gang members and criminals who are getting arrested and getting released, put back out on the street. $6.6 billion on migrants in New York City. People complain that the city is dirty. What do you say to those who say that your turn on this, and you're sitting down with Tom Homan last week and talking about making us safer New York, came too late?
Well, and this is why this is so important, to be able to not have a bumper sticker understanding of a policy and a person's belief, but engaging in real conversations, which we don't do that much often anymore. Sanctuary city is totally different from a man-made crisis that we saw. This is what sanctuary city states. If you're in this city and you are paying taxes, you buy a loaf of bread, you pay taxes, those are your tax dollars. You have a right to the services of the city. You have a right to the police officers. You should not be fearful to put your children in school and get health care. That's what a sanctuary city is. What a sanctuary city is not is having an unsecure border and allowing gang members to come in, paroling people into the country where you're telling them you can't work for 6 months or a year and you have to be dependent on the local cities to take care of you. We're saying that as a sanctuary city, if you're here and you are participating legally, you are provided the services as you start your pathway to get citizenship or legal status. That has always been what took place in this city, but it is not a safe haven for those who are committing criminal acts or trying to harm migrants, asylum seekers, and other New Yorkers.
Well, you see what Tren de Aragua is doing in Aurora, Colorado, torturing 15 people, taking over over at least a couple of apartment buildings there. What do you say to the people of your city who feel like this is out of control? You've got 11% of the Manhattan hotel rooms are occupied right now by migrants. And a lot of people out there, despite what you say about the situation, think that you let it go too far.
And listen, they were angry. And many of them were angry because they didn't understand. They said, Eric, what are you doing? Why are you allowing these buses to come in? Hey, I can't stop them from coming in. That's against federal law. Well, why don't you let them work like all immigrants have done and found their way? Federal government told me, Eric, you can't allow them to work. You know what, Eric? You can't even allow them to volunteer to clean the streets, remove graffiti, and give them a stipend. That's against federal law. And then I have city law that told me there's a right to shelter law. Anyone that comes in the city, anywhere on the globe, can come here and get shelter for as long as they want. I had to go to court and fight that and give a 30 and 60-day notification. That's how we dropped 220,000 that came here to now 50,000 because we said you only going to stay in our shelter for 30 days. And we were fought on that. And so, yes, people were angry. They saw the headlines, look what our mayor is doing, but in reality, the mayor was handcuffed. So what I had to do was make sure my police protected those who were the victims of these crimes and made sure that I had to follow the housing laws that were in place, but while we fought them in court.
So you have butted heads with your city council a lot on the things that you wanted to change. Their chamber is right down the hall here. You must run into each other all the time in these halls. Other mayors are taking a different tack. Brandon Johnson in Chicago and the mayor of Boston saying, we will not bend or break to the Trump mass deportation rule. This is what people in the city council meeting, these are residents in Chicago. Here's what they're saying about their mayor's stance on this. Watch this.
You caused all this money to go to illegal immigrants. We want a forensic audit of the money that was spent on illegal immigration.
Can you do the job, Mr. Brandon Johnson? And it's looking like you can't do the job. We need to start voting different in these cities like New York and Chicago.
That last voice, we have to start voting differently in these cities like New York and Chicago. Do you see a movement happening in cities when you look at what happened in the election? And are these voices going to change these blue cities potentially into red ones?
That's a good question. And that's why I believe that the Democratic Party must ensure that they're listening to the voices of the people. The American people, they spoke loudly and clearly, and they stated that we have to secure our borders, we have to deal with the immigration crisis, and we have to address those violent individuals who come to this country. It's a privilege and a right to be in America, and if you violate that, you should not be in this country. That number of people, which I believe is a small number, committing those violent acts, like the gangs that we've mentioned, should not be here.
So let's talk about the gangs. Let's talk about what you agreed to with Tom Homan. Violent criminals will be deported under the Trump mass deportation. What constitutes a violent criminal? Is that someone who is accused, someone who has been convicted, someone who wears gang tattoos? Where do you draw the line? Did you make that line with him?
No, we did not. I thought our conversation was a great conversation. Tom and I both sat down, and we both agree on violent individuals should not remain in our country. We have laws here in the city on how that could be handled. My legal team is going to sit down with his legal team to make the determination if an executive order can change that. One of the things he would like to have is that's access to Rikers Island. That's the jail in our city. The law that was passed under the previous administration said that no ICE officer can be in any governmental building. There are exceptions to that. We're looking at those exceptions. That's my core issue. I've said it prior to the election. We can't allow people to come into the country or the city committing violent acts. And those numbers who are doing it, we need to address that. And I'm happy to have a partner in Tom to see how do we address that in a real way.
So are gang tattoos that are TDA enough to get someone removed in that first group?
No, it's not. No, it's not. And because we got to also ensure that we're not violating the laws of our land. And the mere fact someone is wearing a gang tattoo, which is an identifiable marker of this gang, is not enough to say, okay, you have a gang tattoo, now you must be removed. But what we should be doing at our border, we could be making that determination. Are we going to allow you to come in? We're allowing people to come in. Think about this for a moment. We're allowing people to come in without a sponsor, without any employment, and we're telling them, you can't work. So what are they going to do? We're creating a pipeline of criminality by creating these terrible criteria.
Are you going to find a way through executive orders to allow ICE to function in this city, to carry out deportations?
We're going to allow them to, the areas where we can allow them to do. Right now, I could allow ICE to come on into Rikers Island, anything but for deportation. But allowing them access to do criminal investigation is going to help us all. But we're going to sit down with our attorneys and see what executive orders I can do to give me more power to go after those who are creating illegal acts. Now, we're going to also, I want to be very clear, we're going to also tell those who are following the law, doing the right thing, here's the pathway to participate in the citizenship and utilize the services that the taxes you are paying for allow you to utilize. So
let's go back. When you started to realize that 200,000 people was too many, you said this could destroy New York City. What was the reaction that you got at the White House when you asked for help? When we saw the numbers coming in, we were getting at one time almost 8,000 a week, 16,000 every 2 weeks. I mean, we could just do the math, unsustainable. And at that time, the right to shelter, we were being sued by advocates that required us to give everyone a bed by a certain number of times. We were getting buses 2, 3 a.m. in the morning. And we reached out to the White House, 10 trips to Washington, D.C., asking them for help in securing the border and stopping this flow. I went down to El Paso and also went down to the Darien Gap, and I saw the flow and the threat that we were receiving. We didn't get the support. We got $200 million out of a $6.5 billion deficit. And so many people believe that, okay, Eric, it's in your rearview mirror. It happened already. You got 170,000 out. No, the damage that we are going to see long term from spending $6.5 billion. $200 million could have gone to those chronically absent children. We could have put hundreds of millions of dollars into the senior care, helping people with medical debt relief. So when you start to look at the long-term impact of the services we did not provide, it's going to start materializing in the years to come. That is the destruction that I was talking about. So when you had that pushback from the White House, they stopped returning your phone calls? Prior to this crisis, I asked the president to come to New York City when we were having a crime problem, the gun problem. He came here and met with our law enforcement. We had a continuous conversation with the White House on these important issues. When this issue happened and we asked for assistance over and over again, and I refused to remain silent while I was watching this city harm, we no longer received the support that we deserved. We no longer had an opportunity to communicate with the president. It was a clear statement from the White House that they didn't appear to be happy that I was standing up for the city. And other mayors should do that. Look at what happened in these other cities, Chicago, Denver, Los Angeles, Houston. Cities should not be taking away the resources from their residents to handle a national crisis.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.